Going back to the classics, guys, this is a great book that I'd recommend everybody read again and again and contemplate on. The Power of Imagination. It's the great works of Neville Goddard, the great mystic. And in the end of it is his book, The Law and the Promise, and it has many success stories, and it's great to share our own success stories and also ponder on the success stories of his time, the way he delivered them, and the way he thought about them. And this is in the chapter Visionary Fancy, and he quotes Blake, who was a great British poet. He said, "The nature of visionary fancy or imagination is very little known, and the external nature and permanence of its ever-existent images is considered as less permanent than the things of vegetative and generative nature. Yet the oak dies as well as the lettuce, but its eternal image and individuality never dies, but renews by its seed, just so the imaginative image returns by the seed of contemplative thought." So you see what he's saying here as a lettuce or a oak. It may perish, but it passes itself along through its seed. And indeed, humans pass themselves along through their seed. And so, in essence, a human never dies, and an oak never dies. And so, too, the imaginative image, whatever you're imagining, keeps perpetuating itself. Although it may pass away, whatever you're seeing keeps changing, and a lot of times, it keeps changing to itself because you're in the same vibrational resonance. So, Neville says, "The images of our imagination are the realities of which any physical manifestation is only the shadow." We talked about this in the last video. We talk about this in every video. The imaginative substance, or what we can call here focus, is what keeps everything in creation. When that goes, everything goes. As Epicurus, I believe, said, he said, "When I die, the world ends." And that is very true in a sense. If we're faithful to vision, the image will create for itself the only physical manifestation of itself it has a right to make. We speak of the reality of a thing when we mean its material substance. That's exactly what an imaginist means by its unreality or shadow. So what we call real in everyday life in parlance is the physical thing. The imaginist knows that's the actual thing, which is unreal. The truth of it is the imaginal image. I want you to really get this. Neville says, "Imagining is a spiritual sensation. Enter into the feeling of your wish fulfilled through spiritual sensation, through your use of imaginal sight, sound, taste, and touch. You will give to your image the sensory vividness necessary to produce that image in your outer world." Here's the story of a man who was faithful to his vision. F.B., being a true imaginist, remembered what he had heard in his imagination. Thus he writes, "A friend who knows my passionate fondness for opera tried to get Kirsten Flagstad's complete recording of Tristan and Isolde for me at Christmas." Remember, this was in the 60s, by the way. In over a dozen record stores, he was told the same thing. RCA Victor is not reissuing this recording, and there have been no copies available since June. Remember, that's the decision of Caesar. This goes for any shortages. I see in my work a lot of shortages in medications. There may be shortages in food. There may be shortages in things that you want to procure. Remember, Caesar doesn't have the last word on this. On December 27th, I determined to prove your principle again by getting the album I desired so intensely. Lying down in my living room, I mentally walked into a record shop I patronized and asked the one salesman whose face and voice I could recall, "Do you have Flagstad's complete Isolde?" He replied, "Yes, I have." That ended the scene, and I repeated it until it was real to me. So he repeated the scene where the salesman told him, "Yes, I have." And remember, the scene doesn't have to reflect exactly, as Bashar says, it's just a permission slip, but it will go basically according to the essence of that scene. So don't make it about having to be exactly like the scene. Late that afternoon, I went to that record shop to physically enact the scene. Not one detail supplied by the senses had encouraged me to believe I could walk out of that shop with those records. I had been told last September by the same salesman in the same shop the same story my friend had received there before Christmas. Approaching the salesman I had seen in my imagination that morning, I said, "Do you have Flagstad's complete Isolde?" He replied, "No, we haven't. Without saying anything audible to him, I said inwardly, "That's not what I heard you say." He said this inwardly. This is revision, by the way. You can change things that are happening on the outer real time. If someone says something to you that you don't like, you can go within and revise that and act as if they said something else to you. Watch this. This is incredible. As I turned to leave the shop, I noticed on a top shelf what I thought to be an advertisement of this set of records and remarked to the salesman, "Well, if you don't have the merchandise, you shouldn't advertise it." Note, he's just following the natural film roll. He's not trying now to make it happen. He just saw something. He got pissed off that it was there because he was false advertising, and he told him so. So a lot of people say you can't get pissed off. Of course you can get pissed off. "That's right," he replied, and as he reached up to take it down, he discovered it to be a complete album with all 5 records. The scene wasn't played exactly as I constructed it, he said, but the result confirmed what my imagined scene implied. How can I thank you? So guys, this story encourages us. Change things in real time. If you want something, you get into the state of that, and you know that it's going on in your inner world, and don't care about what's going on in the outer. In fact, as the scene of the film roll plays before you, somebody says no, you revise it, you change it to them saying something that you wanted them to say, and I promise you the scene will change real time, and you will know that reality is within, and that the within is much stronger than the without. That's what interiorism is all about. So until very soon, guys, it's Javier with the real Javier Novoa. If you like this channel, if you like these videos, please do subscribe and like. I will see you soon.